Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready to dive deep into something pretty crucial today. Green steel.
Ooh, yeah, that's a hot topic, literally.
Right, we're talking buildings, bridges, cars. Steel is everywhere.
The backbone of our modern world, really.
Absolutely. But here's the thing. The traditional way we make it, not so great for the planet.
7% of global CO2 emissions, that's a big chunk.
It is. And that's why we're going to break down the world of green steel standards today.
There's a lot of info out there. It can get confusing.
Totally. So we've done the research, we've got the reports, and we're going to help you figure out what actually makes steel green.
And what to look for when you see those certifications and labels? Because it's not always as straightforward as it seems.
Exactly. And there are a few different approaches out there, each with their own quirks.
Yeah, different ways of looking at the problem, for sure.
So let's kick things off with the big player, the International Energy Agency, the IEA. They've got a standard for near-zero emission steel.
Yeah, the IEA, they're kind of setting the baseline, you know? Focusing on those super carbon-intensive parts of steelmaking, like those old-school coal-fired blast furnaces.
So that's like step one, getting rid of the worst offenders.
Right. It's a good starting point. Like,
Right.
if you're building a house, gotta have a solid foundation, right?
Makes sense. But I'm thinking, what about all those other emissions? The ones that happen outside the factory? You know, transporting stuff, making the materials. It all adds up.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where the low-emission steel standard, or LESS, comes in.
Less
Yeah, LESS. It takes this cradle-to-gate approach.
cradle to gate. So from the very beginning to the finished product.
Exactly. They're looking at emissions from mining the iron ore all the way to when that steel leaves the factory gate, every step of the way.
So we're talking emissions from the trucks, from the energy used in the factory, even emissions from making the materials used in the process.
You got it. It's
Yeah.
pretty comprehensive. And get this, they actually categorize the steel based on its emissions level.
Whoa, so you could actually choose steel based on how green it is.
Yep. Like, you mentioned you were interested in wind turbines, right?
Yeah, I'm always fascinated by renewable energy.
Well, with LESS, you could potentially pick steel for a wind turbine made with the lowest emissions possible.
That's incredible. That's actually happening in real projects, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. It's really gaining traction, especially in industries that are serious about reducing their carbon footprint.
Like those offshore wind farms, I read they're using LES. Pretty cool to see it in action.
Right. It's making a real difference.
Okay, so we've got IEA setting the groundwork, LES getting into the nitty-gritty details, and then there's ResponsibleSteel. And they're kind of the overachiever, right?
Ah, yeah, you could say that. They're not just focused on emissions. They're taking a much broader approach, looking at environmental, social, and governance factors. ESG, we call it.
ESG. So break that down for me. What does that actually mean in practice?
Well, think about where those raw materials come from. Are they mined responsibly, ethically? What about the workers? Are they treated fairly? Are they working in safe conditions?
It's about the whole picture.
Exactly. And they even look at the leadership, the companies themselves. Are they truly committed to sustainability at every level?
So it's not just about making green steel. It's about making it in a way that's good for people and the planet.
That's the idea. And they have this really transparent certification and labeling system. You can see the impact of your steel choices.
Wow, that's impressive. So we've got these three standards, each with their own strengths.
Yeah.
It's almost like they build on each other in a way.
Yeah, there's definitely some overlap. Like, if the company meets the responsible steel criteria, they're probably well on their way to hitting the IEA emissions targets, too.
It all ties together. But how do these standards, play into the bigger picture? Especially as we see more and more green steel being used, like in renewable energy.
Well, as the demand for green steel grows, having these clear, comparable standards is going to be crucial. No more greenwashing. It'll ensure a level playing field.
Hey, everyone playing by the same rules.
Exactly. Imagine a world where every wind turbine, every solar panel, every electric vehicle, all made with steel that meets these high standards.
Oh man, talk about a game changer for the planet. That's what we need.
It would be huge. And it would also push the steel industry to keep innovating, developing even cleaner production methods.
And speaking of innovation, there are companies out there helping businesses navigate this whole thing, right? Like haptic R&D consulting.
Yeah, they're doing great work. They're helping companies understand and implement these standards, figure out their sustainability strategies, really making that transition to greener practices.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one thing you'd want our listeners to walk away with today?
I think it's this. Our choices matter. When we buy things, we're voting with our wallets. If we understand these standards and support companies that are meeting them, that's how we drive real change.
It all comes back to us.
I love that.
So next time you see a giant skyscraper, a bridge, a car, think about the steel. Imagine if it was all green steel.
What a world that would be.
Until next time, keep diving.